As of now, GST has been having multiple advantages. In the same time, it has been having certain initial disadvantage, such as complaints burden, which means its procedures are very complex. And following this complex procedure is very difficult for the smaller taxpayers, such as small and the medium industries. Therefore, they are moving out of the race. To keep them alive in the race, government came up with a scheme or alternative scheme known as the GST composition scheme. What is the main objective of this GST composition scheme? The main objective is to reduce the complaints burden or reduce this complex procedure. And how it is going to reduce this complaints burden means less number of tax returns. That is, if the regular taxpayer has to file 10 times or 12 times the tax returns, means the person enrolled under the scheme can file once or twice the tax return. Therefore, frequency of tax return has been reduced for this person. Second thing, the general taxpayer has to keep track of each and every transaction more correctly and more clearly. This norm has been used for the person enrolled under the composition scheme. And the third important thing is they should pay the fixed percentage of their turnover as the GST. For the normal taxpayer, they have to keep track of every transaction and they have to break their head how much tax I should pay, this much or that much, like this, they should break their head. But the person who's getting enrolled under the composition scheme, instead of breaking their head, they can only calculate their turnover, and out of their turnover, they should pay a fixed percentage such as 1% or 2.5% as the GST. There is no need for the detailed calculation. By this way, complaints burden has been used for the persons who are enrolled in the composition scheme. Now you will be asking, who are eligible to get enrolled under this composition scheme? Therefore, who are eligible means, as I told earlier, small taxpayers such as small or the medium industries are allowed to get enrolled under this composition scheme. And earlier, before 2019, only the companies which is providing goods and the restaurant are allowed to enroll under the scheme. But post 2019, even other services are allowed to get enrolled under this scheme. Therefore, for the companies which is providing goods or the restaurant, the threshold is 1.5 crore rupees. If their annual turnover is below 1.5 crore, notice the term below 1.5 crore means then they are eligible to get enrolled. For the other services, the threshold limit is 50 lakh. For the other threshold limit, if their annual turnover is below 50 lakhs, then they can enroll under the composition scheme. And one more important thing to note here is that scheme available only for the intra-state supply. You know already what is intra and inter. Inter means between one state and the another state. Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra and Karnataka. Inter means intra means within the state. Inter means within one state and the other state. Intra means within the state boundary. Therefore, the person who want to get enrolled under this composition scheme should not provide the services crossing their state boundary. Therefore, they should be supplying within the intrastate. So these persons are eligible to get enrolled under the composition scheme. This is having certain advantages, but also it is having certain disadvantages. And these are the disadvantages. The person who got enrolled under this composition scheme cannot claim the input tax credit. And second, this person cannot charge or collect the tax from the customer. Whoever got enrolled under the ITC, when they are performing transaction, they can't collect tax from the customer. And they cannot conduct the interstate transaction, which I discussed in the previous slide. And the suppliers should not supply through an e-commerce operator. Generally, e-commerce is operating in multiple states. The buyers are from the different state. Therefore, the supplier should not supply the goods as an operator to the e-commerce firm. And the supplier cannot be supplying ice cream and this kind of articles whichever I mentioned here. So please have a look over this. As I'm telling always, please have a look over the exceptions. Again, the UPSC is having a tendency to pick the question from the exceptions.